Everyone seems to have an aversion to pruning. It makes them nervous. And I don't quite understand it. I love to prune. It's kind of a therapy for me. And you know why I like it so much? Well, it's just an activity I enjoy, but it produces more blooms, a lot more blooms. Do you love hydrangeas? Well, I certainly do. And look at these gorgeous beauties here. This is one called Limelight, and it's a Paniculata type. It's a Panicle hydrangea. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm only going to say it once. These hydrangeas, and the way I prune these, you would not prune the typical classical mop head or the big round ball hydrangea. They're often blue. If the soil is acidic, they're pink if the soil is alkaline. This is a late flowering hydrangea, and we're going to focus on 3 late flowering hydrangeas. This one has amazing flower power called Limelight. And this one is being grown in a tree form. You can see the single trunk here below. And I just like that. I like the single, more formal, standard form in this part of the garden here at Moss Mountain Farm. Now, one of the things I want you to know about this plant is that I cut this back, and I'm going to try to show you where I made the cuts. And if you'll just come in here just a little bit closer and look down in here, you will see I made a cut back here in the late winter. This is how far back I cut these trees. I cut these trees back this far, and this much growth, what is that? I don't know, 36 inches, emerged from that since this spring. And at the end of each one of these stems, look what I have, a big bloom, okay? So the panicle hydrangeas, you can actually prune, and in fact you want to prune them to get this kind of bloom set, which I think is just really quite extraordinary. And the other thing that I want you to know is that these are excellent for cutting and bringing in the house if you want to use them inside in an arrangement fresh like this. I like a little green foliage at the top. You can just work those in. Really beautiful. Look at the number of florets on that. It's quite rich, abundant, very full flower. One of the easiest plants you'll grow. Now, what I want to do is take you and show you another hydrangea that blooms late. I mean, this thing will begin flowering in late July. Into August, well into September. The panicles hang on the plant into October. So you get a lot of value from these plants. Now, let's go over here to the other side of the garden, and I want to show you another hydrangea. So come along. Now, before we go any further and I introduce you to this other late blooming hydrangea, this is the early hydrangea in bloom. I just saw this and I thought, well, you know, why not show you? I'm just going to cut this off and you can see. So this is that big mop head hydrangea, and you see they're finished. So what I'm looking for is something that comes on later, and that's what we're talking about today. So step over here and look at Little Lime. This is a cultivar of, well, the Paniculata hydrangeas, of which we're talking about today. But it's a smaller version of Limelight that we just saw. And here's the Limelight bloom, and you can see the bloom is actually smaller on Little Lime, and this is a shrub form. It's not in the tree form like we just saw, right? And so it makes a beautiful shrub. It doesn't get nearly as tall. It doesn't get 6 to 8 feet tall. It's very manageable. These have been here, oh, I guess 5 years now, and you can see they're, you know, no more than 4 feet tall and lots of blooms. So you're not giving up much in the way of flower power. Ideally, I would have an evergreen back here as a backdrop, because in winter they're going to lose their leaves. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking design. Okay, now let's go take a look at another member of this late flowering family. You're going to enjoy this one. Now here's another friend I want you to know about. It's a big family, the hydrangeas, you know that. This is another panicle hydrangea, and it's a little more of a lace cap type. And this particular hydrangea, Panicle hydrangea, is called Quickfire. And I think it's called that because there's touches of pink, and you can see as the blooms senesce or age, they take on a pinkish sort of color. So whether it's Little Lime, the dwarf form, or Limelight, which can get very large, or Quickfire, or if you can find some Hydrangea tardiva, think about some of these for your garden because they'll add delight through the summer, and they're so easy to grow. I'd like to thank First Community Bank for making this video possible and their support of our pollinator community. You can learn more about our Bloom With Us program by going to firstcommunity.net.